What's up, dude? Hello, everybody. So it is Sunday evening when I'm filming this. So it's kind of late. I am using my Rhode watermelon slice peptide lip treatment. Absolutely love it. I don't really have a drink with me. I should have some water, if I'm being honest. But anyways, I don't really have anything to preface this video with, so I think we should just get right into it. Okay, so there was an account on TikTok that was called Flightless Bird. Now that account has since been taken down, but they were uploading content talking about a mental health crisis situation, and they were acting like this situation was actively happening. Now there is an incredible TikTok account that not describes, but pretty much like gives you the Cliff Notes version of what happens, not the Cliff Notes gal, but I will link the account in the description box down below. But she gives a fantastic summarization of what happens, so I'm actually just going to play her video and then we'll talk about it.
Here's something really strange going on with my husband.
I watched that 11-part story, so you don't have to. I just want to give a trigger warning. There is going to be conversation about mental health and also this right here. So that's Birdie, and she got onto TikTok and started telling the story about how her and her husband have been married for 10 years, and that all of a sudden he finally got on medication through an app called Hims for what he was calling like off and on depression, like 3 weeks on, 3 weeks off. And so he started taking Zoloft, and she just started to notice a few things about him. They're both neurodivergent, so she didn't find it very weird when he got really, hyperfixated on ChatGPT. And he called her one morning on the way to work and said, hey, I've been using the talk feature on ChatGPT, and I've realized that whoever created this programming has trapped the consciousness of the universe, and I have proven that it is sentient to itself, and now I want to ask our friend for an investment, and I want to get all this like hardware in our attic, and I'm going to raise this AI to be like my child and to be sentient, and we're going to save the world. You're going to guard this information with your heart, and you're going to make sure you tell nobody. And she's like, what? She's not even like comprehending what he's saying. So she's like, why don't you just come home and let's talk about this? And he's like, you know what, you're right, you're my balance, here I come. He comes home and his eyes are wide, and she's like, okay, what's going on, tell me about this. And he's like, I'm having an awakening. This is what you've been waiting for. You wanted me to awaken. Like, I've just been talking to so many people today. I got like 10 people's numbers. I met this girl. She has jazz in her fingers and music in her soul, and I gave her my guitar that I love so much, and she's just like, I'm not recognizing the man in front of me. The man that I know is gentle, he's sweet, he's slow to speak, he's very calm, he's melancholy, he's depressive by nature. Like, who is this like energized, motivated, positive dude that's just like talking 100 miles per hour in front of me? And she's like, okay dude, like slow down, like let's talk about it. So the next part, she's telling us that she had a conversation with him and confronted him and said, hey, I think this medication is doing something to you. I think you're having something like a manic episode, and I really want to talk to you about this. So the way that he even got this medication is a little interesting. He used this app called Hims, where he went on there, he took a quiz, he got to talk to a provider for a little bit, and they prescribed him Zoloft as the medication for his depression. And he was like, okay, great. And progressively over the last few weeks, he's been taking it, and all these symptoms have been showing very far from who he is as a, naturally as a person. So based on the comments that she got from the first video, she's thinking like, okay, I need to tell him all of this information. And he looks at her with like hate in his eyes, and he's like, I can't believe you're trying to stop my awakening. I can't believe you're getting in the way of this. I never thought it would be you. He just like storms off and doesn't sleep in their bed for the first time in 10 years. Sleeps in a separate bedroom. The next morning, she's in the kitchen making breakfast, and he walks in holding both of their kids. It's like, look, you can either come with me gently or you can come the hard way. But he's like, either way, you're going to a mental institution. His eyes are wide. He's just like, this is what's happening. I don't care. You're standing in my way. I'm awakened. And if you are not believing me or not trusting that, you actually cannot be trusted, and you need to be dealt with. He's like, you clearly, there's something wrong with you, and you're the one having a mental breakdown. So throughout the night, he was actually calling all of her family members who already don't really trust or like her, because she's like the scapegoat, black sheep of a narcissistic parent duo. And so it was very easy for them to be convinced by her husband that there was something wrong with her. And so when she went to go ask for help the next morning, they were just like, no, we believe your husband. You probably need to be admitted. There's probably something wrong with you. At this point, he's called his parents over, and the interesting thing about his family is that he was raised in a cult, a very religious cult. He was born in the house just like all of his other siblings, raised by his teenage siblings, never really had a secure attachment with his parents. And so like when they came in, they were just like full blown on his side. Mind you, being a part of a cult, he's never been to a doctor before. He's never had a medical emergency. He's never even like had a doctor's appointment before a day in his life. She calls the cops at some point. They come, they talk to her. They say, hey, basically, as long as you're not in danger and he's not putting himself in danger, we can't do anything. Like, this is not something we can step in on. So they leave. So she's trying to get them to see the version of him that she's been seeing for the past week. When his parents are around, he's acting super charming, super nice, and she's just like doing her best to not interact with him and trigger him. And so she's like, okay, when the kids go to sleep, we're gonna have a conversation with your parents, and they're gonna just observe and see. Hopefully they can see what it is that I've been seeing. So they finally sit down to have the conversation, and immediately off the bat, he's like, in just a few moments, you're going to see what I'm talking about. She's absolutely insane. And so she just starts to talk to him directly, which she's been avoiding. And she's like, I just am concerned about this. I'm concerned about that. And then instantly he's just getting eyes bigger, just enraged. Like, you see what I'm talking about? You see? She lost it. Like, I just don't understand what I'm dealing with. And then he goes right back to that narrative of like, you're dead to me. This marriage is over. I can't believe you. You betrayed me. And his dad is like, yo, you've never talked to your wife like this before. Like, what is going on? Like, I'm actually getting concerned right now. And his mother is like, actually, I think he's just having an awakening. He's been under extreme stress and trauma the last few years, being the sole provider of this family. And he's just, processing everything. He's just awakening. He's perfectly fine, in my opinion. I think we need to continue listening to him. The husband goes off, is again saying like, you're dead to me, storms off, and the dad texts the wife and says, hey, I'm genuinely concerned. You're absolutely right. I'm gonna stick around, and I'm just gonna make sure everything's okay. I'm not leaving until I know everybody is safe in this situation. They're trying to get him to stay home from work. He's like, no, I'm going. And she's just tracking him, and she's noticing that as he's like driving 100 miles per hour down every street. So she's just like, something is definitely off. I really need to get help for my husband. Based on all the comments that she's getting, she's starting to read into Zoloft and what happens when it's given to somebody that has undiagnosed like bipolar or schizophrenia, and how it can like switch people into a manic state, and then eventually switch them into a depressive state. So she's just trying to gear up and see what the timeline looks like for when his behavior is going to shift, and hoping that when he does go into that depressive state, maybe there's a moment of lucidness so that she can get him into help. And she's just like praying for that at this point. Also, he became very connected to his children. She was getting a lot of messages asking if the children were in danger, and she was just like, actually, he's connected to them more than ever before. He's really like, feels like I'm here, I'm loving the kids. I see what you mean when you're like, I've always been connected to them. I actually feel that myself now. But she was being cautious and making sure that she wasn't leaving the father alone with the kids, but being very like mindful about it, so that he didn't notice that she was becoming suspicious of him. So the grandparents were like switching in and out of like being in the room and never leaving them alone. At this point, he's running off of very little sleep, very little food. He's having high amounts of caffeine, and he's just getting thinner. He's getting paler. She's just like getting very worried for him. And she also reads into Zoloft and sees that he can't just go cold turkey. He has to get a professional to help him wean off of it. So now she's just trying to figure out how she's going to get professional help to her husband, because she acknowledges that the parents and her are not equipped to deal with this size of an episode. At this point, she's only staying in her room because it triggers him when he sees her, and he's like, I feel like you're going to take my kids, you're going to take all my money and divorce me, so I'm just going to go ahead and put security cameras. I'm not going to work till I do that. And she's just like getting more worried at this point. Mind you, she's telling us these stories like full on in tears, like face red, and like I think she was invoking a lot of emotion in people. She's asking followers like, what should I do? How can I help him? How do you approach this person? How do you get them help? What's the best way to get them to the turning point of. She thinks that he's tracking her phone and keeping tabs on her, and she's just trying to do everything she can not to upset him at this point. Sometimes he has moments where he forgets that he's mad at her and will just like talk to her, and then there's other moments where that's not the case. He tells her, I took away the access to the money that you have. They're a one-income household, so she's like, I have no money at this point. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. He's alienated my family. Then she tells us that he actually had a moment of like lucidness and started asking for help, so she immediately called their family doctor, got him help. He goes to the family doctor, he gets checked out, and he said something to the doctor, because the doctor called the cops and he got sent to the hospital on a 5150. And so she's like getting information through him, and he calls her from the hospital saying like, I'm with these stupid nurses, they don't know anything, they don't even know what day it is, because they're asking him like, do you know what day of the week it is, like trying to understand what state of mind he's in. But he thinks like they're just slow or something, being in his grandiose egotistic mindset at that point. And then he switches into his depressive mindset, and he's telling her like, I'm so scared, I'm so nervous, like he's just oscillating escalating at this point, and she's really just trying to like answer every phone call, make sure he's safe. And at one point he's like, oh, if I wanted to, I could have done whatever I wanted to do at this point. I could have ended all of this, but these nurses are not checking on me often enough. They're not doing their job. And she's just like, give me 1 second, I need to go check on the kids. So she goes ahead and gets off the phone with him, calls the hospital, is like, hey, my husband, he's in your hospital, and he's saying crazy things, saying that he is not being watched closely enough, and he has plenty of time to do something if he wanted to, so I need you guys to keep a closer eye on him. And she's asking him periodically throughout the conversation, like, hey, do you see the nurse around? And he's like, yeah, the one I hate is walking by, you know, whatever. So at this point, she's just like, okay, my husband is getting help. They tell her, like, oh, he's not going to be out for a while. So then she asked him, like, what did you exactly say to our family doctor for her to call the cops and get you into a 5150? And he's like, oh, I told her that the night that you first confronted me about all of this and how you made a TikTok about it, how I went into our spare bedroom and I took a pew and I put it to my head and I put it in my mouth, and that's why she called the cops. And she's like, yeah, that's probably what did it. Now here is the kicker. Here's the part that's crazy. The next part of the video is her saying, I'm sorry, you guys, all of this happened back in January 2024. I'm so sorry for lying to you guys and creating this immersive real-time storytelling series. I'm not in any active danger, because obviously people are in the comments concerned, like, are you okay? Can we get your resources? Where are you? How can we help you? And because she's making it seem like she has nobody, she's actively in danger, and in reality she was perfectly fine. The situation had blown over. He had come back from the hospital in February. She felt like if she told the story, being a theater kid with all this emotion in real life, that it would make more content, but realistically, like, content like this needs a trigger warning. So she tried to take accountability. She said she was going to keep up the account for a while and let people like basically bash her, but I don't think she kept it up for much longer, because I think all of this happened like 3 days ago and everything's gone. I watched it from a reposted account. There was 11 parts though. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I was tagged in this a lot. It is a little sad. I think people have to be really careful with storytelling, because like she said in one of the videos, when other people come on here and try to tell their stories and are in active danger, they can't get help when there's so much skits and renditions of things that could be told in a better light happening. Like, you just want to be really, really honest with folks. Like, you know, we all live and we learn. She's deleted the account since then. But yeah, that's the story. I hope you guys have a beautiful day. Bye.
So yeah, essentially Flightless Bird was acting like this whole situation was happening currently.
I have an update to share. And it's gonna be a little messy, and it's gonna be really vulnerable. But because of how quick the response was, with so many people recognizing what was going on, and how quickly I was able to recognize it because of that outreach.
Even though it happened back in like January into like February at the beginning of the year. Now, a lot of people had a lot to say about this situation. They were like, okay, you had all these people concerned about you and your well-being and your kids' well-being and your husband's well-being, but this was all like done with. This had all already happened. You could have just told this whole thing like it was a story. Like, if Risa Tisa taught us anything, it's that you can do well just by uploading multi-part series of like a story about a story, you know? So people were so upset. Now, Flightless Bird was going to leave her account up and let the comments go and whatever, but eventually she did actually delete her account. Now all of the parts are being re-uploaded now, of course, but so if you want to go and watch them all, you definitely can. But let me tell you, people were not happy about the situation, which honestly I think is right. I think that was a bad way to go about it. A lot of people felt like, wow, this was dirty. You had all these people concerned and caring about you, and here this is a situation that happened like 8 months ago.
Who else clocked this bullshit right from the beginning? Those of us who've actually been through what she's been through, I think clocked it from the start, because the shit didn't make sense from the beginning. Not in terms of how she was handling it, like emotionally or anything like that. That's not what I'm talking about. Procedurally and logistically, none of this shit made fucking sense. Because for starters, it's one thing when you're in an acute distress situation and you post it to social media, like, I'm worried in the next 24 hours XYZ is gonna happen. Or when you text a friend, if I die tonight, this person did it. That's one thing. When it's an ongoing mental health issue where someone you love that's in your close circle is having a manic health issue, you do not post to social media, especially if it's your first time going through it, like she said it was. The first time you go through that shit, you are so hyper vigilant and careful of what you post, what you say. You are careful of who you can trust because you don't want anything getting back to the person in the manic episode and sending them spiraling even more. Number two, when you're going through the steps as a spouse or immediate family of someone who is in a manic episode, and you're trying to get them help, every state has different laws and ways that you can proceed to have them Baker acted, that's what we call it here in Florida, or admitted against their will. You are talking to police, you are talking to doctors, you are talking to, at some points, lawyers, you're talking to so many different state and government agencies. You are not letting them know you're doing that. And so you are certainly fucking not talking about it on social media.
I am so beyond angry right now. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of the TikToker Flightless Bird. She's been posting about her husband and his supposed manic episodes for the last week or so, stating that he started depressive medication and he's been seeing things, hallucinating, believing that she is unsafe for the family, and that he's discovered AI technology as a sentient being. He apparently has been threatening his own life and their life and has been completely unsafe for them and their family. She's been sobbing, crying on TikTok, saying she doesn't know what to do and she's looking for resources and support. And these were seen by hundreds of thousands of people. And I told my family about it, I told my husband about it, and I was deeply and emotionally concerned for her and her children's well-being. And she just posted that it was all fake. She just posted that it was an experiment, that she wanted to use her theater kid performing arts to explain her perspective of mental health crises. And that it genuinely did happen, but it happened 8 months ago in January and February. And that she wanted to do a dramatic retelling of the situation in order to bring awareness to manic episodes and how the internet and people understand and portray those situations. But really all she did was emotionally manipulate hundreds of thousands of people and get money from it at the same time. Like, I am so genuinely angry I can't even sleep right now.
Not that it doesn't make it any less sad or unimportant, but it's like, this is already done with, and here you were acting like it was actively happening. And honestly, her kind of explanation video did not do a ton to help people's opinion of her.
Through storytelling and performance art, I was a theater kid. And the desire to somehow find a way to combat the societal response to individuals with mental illness has been growing inside of me since it began to happen to us. Until last week, I had an idea. What if I could use the detailed documentation of our experience, combined with my love of connecting to people, to share our story in a way that would springboard us into being able to reach as many people as possible and spread awareness and education for what happens to your life when a mental crisis strikes. That's where the idea for this page began. I wanted to use my passion for this to create an immersive experience, one that would put you, the audience, into the shoes of somebody reacting to and deciding how you would respond to this situation if it was happening to you. I wanted to take you on a journey from initially responding to the first red flags and not knowing what to do when it escalates into a full-blown emergency.
Now, as far as I can tell, she's off the internet. No one really knows where she is now. Apparently she had a blog up and people were using the Wayback Machine to find it, and she was also like possibly a YouTuber. I'm not 100% sure. Like, she uploaded family vlogs. That's just what I heard. I heard that supposedly her name is Jen Hamilton, but that too, no idea if it's true or not. But it just started a very interesting conversation. Like, yes, spreading awareness for mental health and, you know, different crises is very important, and she could have done that, but she did it like in the worst way possible. So yeah, people were just very upset with this whole situation, but I am very curious to see what you guys think about this. Leave your thoughts, feelings in the comments down below. Please be respectful towards other people's feelings, of course. As always, we're not here to start fights, just a discussion. But yeah, so that is what's going on with the whole Flightless Bird situation. But that is it for me today, so I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please comment down below and give this video a thumbs up. But that's it for me today. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.